Do you want to become immortal? Merge your brain with artificial intelligence, AI, gain eagle-like eyesight, grow a prehensile tail, or gain superhuman abilities? Physical strength of superheroes in comics? Transhumanism promises its adherents that, when it reaches the singularity, a final moment, at which point technological advances will make the movement unstoppable, then only the boundaries of their imagination will be able to limit their lives. This goal is clearly stated in the Transhumanist Bill of Rights, a passage entitled, "As long as it does not harm other entities." Transhumanists also expect society to take financial responsibility for the high costs of their hobbyist obsessions. A section of Title 18 states, "Current and future societies must provide all sentient beings with basic access to wealth and resources to sustain basic requirements of existence in a civilized society and serve as the foundation for the pursuit of self-improvement." Okay, let's be a little more realistic. Most of the physical transformations that transhumanists crave will almost certainly never happen. For example, we will never transfer our minds to computers and live forever in cyberspace. Life cannot be reduced to a series of zeros and ones in a computer program. And even if we could somehow convert our thoughts into a software program, the result would not be us but just a unified program capable of imitating our reactions, our response to external stimuli. However, just because transhumanism is a futuristic fantasy doesn't mean that the movement isn't also a looming social threat. By assuming an absolute right to recreate human nature and radically modify the body, while also demanding that society accept morphological freedom as a fundamental, and indeed must pay for these changes, this ideology has a negative impact on social cohesion by placing subjective desire above objective reality, that is, worshipping the bottomless pit of I want, if you want to call it that. This is not simply a theoretical danger. The first wave of transhumanist ideology shook society to its core with its explosive growth and support for transgenderism. Gender ideology, of which transgenderism is just one part, is a transhumanist belief system that explicitly states that the sex a person is assigned at birth is not innate, and actually, has nothing to do with the person's true nature. A person's subjective perception of gender, not a biological but a sociological concept, is really all that counts. As a result, ridiculous opposites that just a few years ago would have been scorned and ridiculed, such as men give birth and women have penises, are now the preferred terms in our most important social institutions, from the Democratic Party, to medical journals, to K-12 schools, universities, the media, and to cultural institutions public. Furthermore, true to transhumanist dogma, gender thinkers insist that transition is a fundamental right that society as a whole must show utmost respect for. Therefore, using dead names or wrong pronouns towards a transgender person is an act of critical impoliteness and is frowned upon by gender thinkers. Considered an act of violence. Girls and women are now forced to compete with biological males who identify as women in sports, and even have to share private spaces like bathrooms and toilets. Born in the gym. How radicalized did this ideological fanaticism become? Children's bodies are being mutilated with mastectomies, facial reconstruction procedures, and potentially harmful hormone therapies that prevent normal puberty. Transgender surgeons make a fortune performing healthy hysterectomies from transgender people, and genital reconstruction. Some even perform a procedure called nullectomy, for nothing. That is, removing all external genitalia to create a flat transition from the abdomen to the groin. There is even a push to allow biological men who identify as women to have uterus transplants so they can become pregnant and have children. Gender ideology has become such an integral part of the progressive community that some blue states are passing laws to turn themselves into transgender sanctuary states. There, social workers are required to hide gender dysphoric children who run away from their parents or refuse to comply with court rulings regarding legal custody. At the same time, Medicaid covers gender transition for minors without parental consent. This madness will not end at transgenderism. When I attended a transhumanist symposium at Stanford University about 10 years ago, the presenters urgently advocated the idea of amputating healthy limbs or severing the spinal nerves of people. Suffers from body integrity identity disorder, BIID, a mental illness that causes able-bodied people to obsessively believe that their true self is disabled. BIID is now often called transableism. Get it? And support is growing to allow these surgeries in the same way gender reassignment surgeries are performed today. And why not? In a culture of subjective wishes overall, what is the difference between removing a woman's vagina for phalloplasty and cutting her spinal cord? A person who wants to be disabled. The only difference I see between these two is that gender ideology is supported by LGBT politics while disability transism is not. But let's give this theory time. Once transgenderism truly becomes a lifestyle like any other, disability transgenderism will soon follow. Transhumanists like to say that their movement cannot be stopped, that we are already on the slope towards a post-human future, so we might as well relax. Relax and enjoy the trip. I reject that notion. While I don't believe that transhumanists will engineer a post-human race, I worry that the dangerous values this movement promotes are becoming widespread. Indeed, if these current trends continue, we will see the dominance of a radically new moral order, which can only be described as a symbiosis of social anarchy and state fascism, in which, in the words of the philosopher Nietzsche, nothing is right, and everything is permitted. That would be disastrous, because, according to an older wisdom, a house built on sand cannot last.